Good morning, welcome to my channel. My name is David Okun. I am speaking today about India. India is an Asian country, and if you watch this video, watch with the rest of the video on India. And I'm looking at what is happening in India and comparing it with what is happening in the rest of the world. In terms of how people live, government policies, how it affects the people who live in India, the people who live around the world, compare to review this material. And thank you everybody who have been supporting this channel, watching the channel, and also sharing with family and friends, and subscribing to the channel. And today we are going to look at foreign economic and strategic relations in India, and also looking at the Indian armed forces during the 1950s and 60s. India played a pivotal role in the non-aligned movement from left to right. Gamal Abdel Nasser of the United Arab Republic, now Egypt, and Joseph Broz Tito of Yugoslavia, and Jawaharlal Nehru in Belgrade, September 1961. These are some of the events which involve India. It's a global outlook, and if you remember, in the rest of the video, I've talked about globalization and something in globalization known as harmonization. I've also pointed out the policies of rule in affecting ideology, impacted by ideology and politics, how the economic system of capitalism operates in different countries, and how it affects the condition of people who live in different countries, including in India. And looking at the inequalities, because if you live in a country, if you are from India or from another country in a globalized world, if you work for a living, and if you have to send your children to school, if you fall sick, having to attend a hospital for treatment, if you are traveling in the public transport, in a bus or in a train, in a taxi, or in any form of transport, how much it is costing you? Are you struggling? Can you put food on the table? Can you access energy wherever you're living? Whether you are living in Africa, in a village, or in town or city, you need to ask this question because it involves your life, and your life is important. Also, ask yourself if you value your life, and if so, then you're doing the right thing. If you no longer value your life, you think your life is useless, then you're making a big mistake. I've been pointing to the cost of living crisis, which is now happening across the globe. People cannot access food easily. They struggle to access food. People struggle to access energy, medical care, schools, employment, and other income-related factors. And this is very important. And if you are facing a situation, it is important for you to understand what the problem is. And I've argued that the cost of living crisis, it is a symptom, it's a sign. It's a sign of a deeper problem in our society, caused mainly by politics, by economic policy, by the governments of the world coming together to promote an extreme form of capitalism. Capitalism itself is not a problem. It is the people who run it who are actually causing the problem, using capitalism as a weapon of rule, weapon of accessing power and using power to oppress the many. This power is actually controlled by the few. And this is what I'm trying to provide information about. Join me in discussing these matters. Whether you are a child, whether you are an adult, whether you are a male or female, whether you are youth, whether you are homegrown or you are foreign, because we are all in this together. and children should begin to take responsibility about their lives. You can play if you want, but if you are becoming a youth, you need to pay attention to problems affecting your parents. If your parents cannot look after you, if you cannot access food, or even a parent cannot take you to shopping, if you are being killed on the street because the government cannot provide security, national security for you, it cannot provide national security for you because it has closed down the economy, the public sector. It has closed down the public sector because of ideological reasons, nothing else. And this has actually extrematized capitalism, which is actually the market system promoting businesses, private businesses. There's something called privatization. That is the main problem, because privatization concentrates wealth among the super rich, who are actually the minority, the few, and taking this wealth away from the hand of the many. This is by design more than by ignorance. There could be elements of ignorance because government probably is not getting advice from the right people. Government should be advised by local MPs, who should be advised by the local constituent members. In every democracy, democracy means you have actually a competitive system of election where constituent members vote for members of parliament who represent them in government. So if you have those people should be the ones advising government about your problem. The local people who vote for MP should be the ones to tell the government how much they should be paid salaries, not some experts who are multimillionaires or sometimes even multimillionaires who are not elected by the people. This is wrong. It's a form of violence by modern democracies and modern dictatorship. Like, when I talk of dictatorship, I mean military dictatorship, because democracy now, because of civil bureaucracy, has become an invisible form of dictatorship. So democracy in the process has been suspended. Because if people cannot access the basics, or they struggle to access food, and people are humiliated to go into community centers, food banks, churches, to beg for food, even in rich countries like China, like India. India is the fifth richest, still richer than the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is the sixth richest in the world. And there should be no poverty in India. There shouldn't be poverty in the United Kingdom at all, because of the level of wealth. Even in Africa, there's so much wealth now concentrated in the hand of the ruling elites, which should be actually some of this wealth should be released and channeled to support improvement in the minimum wage in employment. Also to support housing, and every government in the world should build a house for people who work for living, people who cannot buy property outright. Basic necessities should be a commercial product for the few who are actually multimillionaires. Basic necessities like housing, employment should not be commercialized, because at least for the majority of the population who work for living, there should be two types of economies under capitalism. There should be the private and the public. Private sector should be for the few multimillionaires and few multimillionaires, maybe 10 to 15% of the population around the world, including in India. And then the main aspect of the economy should be public sector, which is actually designed to help the majority of the population who are living in poverty. People who live in poverty actually work for living. These are actually the ones who will need to access basics like food, housing. Housing should be the every country of the world, including in Africa. Every government, especially under a global capitalism, where government of the world work in a coordinated way. This should be happening now, and it should start as soon as possible. Every government for the world, in Africa, in Asia, Europe, America, Oceanic, or whichever continent you may be in, your government should be in a position to build houses for people who cannot buy it outright. As long as you are in a country and you cannot buy a house outright, your government should buy a house enough for your family. It doesn't matter how many you are, even if you are 1,000 in a home, the government has a duty to house all your members, the members of your family. This is now not happening, and it's causing housing crisis in every country. The government is refusing deliberately to provide public housing. It's closing public housing down. It's selling it off and closing it down. See, every time the government sells the public assets to private companies, they close it down because it is not efficient. Efficiency means a business is no longer making profit. People need to understand this so that when you go to speak to your MP, you know what you're talking about, and watching this video is part of the process. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, watch it anyway. If you don't watch it, then go and do something else. Find out about the information I'm talking about. You need to understand policy. You need to understand what is going on. It is your responsibility. It is your poverty. And if you're a rich person, it is also your wealth. Because if the poor continues to be poor, then the level of insecurity will actually also destroy the super rich. There are people who are so rich, they think they are invincible. They are wrong. Because sooner or later, the poor are going to be destroyed. People who work for living, the majority of the population. Because work for living, you're poor. You may not feel it, you may not know it, but the facts are there. Do a little study, be responsible for your life. Be responsible for the life of people you live with, your family, your friends, your relatives, your colleagues. As a human being, you have to take responsibility for your life and the life of one human. Humans in a society are no strangers. That is poor education in society to call another human being a stranger. It is wrong. That is actually what I have also been talking about the culture, the cultural economy. Cultural economy nationally and the global cultural economy. We should be actually part of learning in schools, in communities, and at home. People should have respect for themselves. Respect for other people, which means respect means valuing your life and your property, valuing other people and valuing their property. This is at the center of this discussion. It is so critical that young people and old people alike should pay attention to this. Leave a comment below if you think this material can be improved. If you don't have the time to leave a comment, then you're doing great. And you're doing even greater if you're participating in this channel. We are moving forward and we are making progress. We're improving these materials and we are going to do great things discussing this topic, because it's the only topic you should know. You have to choose one topic, know about the economy, know about culture. Those two, especially culture. Culture is respecting people. Respecting people means value. Your life matters. Some people say this is a Black Lives Matter. I say every life matters, black or white. Of course, Black Lives Matter. White life also matters, because both are being neglected because of cultural failure. There is so much violence. Children are dying on the street. Parents are divorcing. That is not a violence. Parents are actually killing each other. Men abusing women. Women are disrespectful of themselves and of other people. They don't pay attention, and this will stop now. Because if it doesn't stop, we are going to suffer, and we should take responsibility for our suffering. We suffer, we take responsibility for it. Do stop blaming other people. If you're poor, it doesn't mean you have a qualification of not knowing your value and the value of the people you live with. You see, that is what respect is. Respect is understanding the value because there are people who now are prepared to commit suicide, killing themselves. That means they no longer value their lives. If you don't value your life, how are you going to value the life of somebody else, including your children, if you're a parent? And that's what is creating problems even more than poverty. Poverty is a developmental factor, but culture is distinctively humanitarian. And unless we prioritize humanity over and above wealth and over and above anything else, we are going to be responsible for what's happening, even if you are poor. But especially if you're rich, because you have a lot of power, you have a lot of capability, and you live like wild dogs and wild cats, even if you're humans, multimillionaires and multimillionaires, you are more responsible for lack of peace, of violence. You are more responsible than people who do not have access to wealth. You are privileged. You are not entitled to your wealth. You are just privileged. And everybody should be able to access wealth. Because that is what the world is about. With technology, with knowledge, with science, everybody is capable of accessing wealth, but some people are more privileged than others. That is the nature of society, the nature of violence, the nature of rule, where the ruling class are masters and those who are known as citizens are actually slaves. But you see, there comes a point of equilibrium in society where slaves and masters are going to be slaves. Because we are both humans. It doesn't matter how rich or poor you are a human being. And if we treat each other as masters and slaves, one day we are all going to be slaves, even if you are a master. An alien visiting the house will not notice the difference between a master and a slave. This will happen. It will start happening now going forward. That is why I'm talking about this. That's why will continue to talk. Join me in the conversation if you are interested. If you are not interested, join me also, because you don't need to be interested in something to participate in. It is your responsibility. If you want to eat food or drink water, or if you need medicine, you have to take medication. Otherwise, you're going to die. So you need to get information, the correct information, important information. Get put in your head. Learn and learn and learn. It's your duty. Play if you have to play. Visit family and friends if you have to visit family and friends. It's your life. It's a good thing to do. Exchange gifts. Work as hard as you can. These are actually important factors in your life. If you are a kid, go to school, nursery, play centers. Do what you can. But remember, you are a human being. Doesn't matter even if you are only 5 or 4 years. Your parents will tell you, start teaching you that the human life is the most important thing. This should start happening now. Let's go back to look at India. Because when we look at India, we will find information to actually back up what I have talked about. In every country I've spoken, I have provided evidence that what happened in India is similar to what happened in China, in the rest of Asia, in Africa, in South Africa, East Africa, in Europe, in America. And we continue to do something like this. But you comment below if you need me to do something you value, and then talk to me and let me see. So we're going back to India to look to review material and carry on with this discussion. So in the 1950s, India strongly supported the colonization in Africa and Asia, and played a leading role in the non-aligned movement. After initially cordial relations with neighboring China, India went to war with China in 1962 and was widely thought to have been humiliated. You are humiliated if you went to war, and you are humiliated, it means you are defeated. This was followed by another military conflict in 1967, in which India successfully repelled Chinese attack. China and India were at war in the 1960s. I also see it elsewhere. If you watch the rest of the video, I said the building of nation states, whichever nation state you live in, has been through warfare, violence, and a lot of nasty things have been happening. War is very dangerous. People die, people suffer. We see in the Middle East. We humans are so culturally uneducated that we have turned war and fighting into entertainment. Look at Hollywood in America. Without war and violence, there will be no Hollywood. There will be no entertainment of any sort. The global economy will collapse because it is based on violence. Adverts. Everything, every form of entertainment is enjoyed because of violence and nasty things. So these acts really, we need to ease our life out of stupidity. Because as humans, we are so thick. We are becoming worse than animals. We feed on nastiness on television. That's what we do. You look at the children's cartoon, full of violence. We're teaching our children, even from the womb, to be violent. And then we talk about peace. How stupid are we? We are brainless. We should go back to school. We can't live like that. We can't enjoy nastiness and perversion. We live like perverts. Even children. Look at the cartoon problem. Look at games. The level of violence we are teaching our children at games is extraordinary. That is how far we have gone the other way. We have to come back to being human. We have to turn it into animals. Even animals are more civil than humanity. What are we going to do? This is an emergency. Look at what happened in China in the 60s. Between India and China. They are like little children. They fight. What are they fighting for? And this as I look through this material, looking across the globe, the same story. And you begin to know we are culturally really at a crisis. Our culture is the number one priority today. Valuing humanity. If you value somebody, we don't fight them. If you value somebody, we don't kill people. You don't commit suicide if you value your life. To go back to look at this situation in India. So India there are tense relations with neighboring Pakistan. Pakistan used to be part of India until the British colonialism, imperialism, and the colonial the government authorities splitted India from Pakistan and Bangladesh as well. So India had tense relations with neighboring Pakistan. The two nations have gone to war 4 times. 4 times in 1947, in 1965, in 1971, and 1999. 3 of these wars were fought over the disputed territory of Kashmir, while the third and the 1971 war followed from India's support for the independence of Bangladesh. In the late 1980s, the Indian military twice intervened abroad in the invitation of the host country, a peacekeeping operation in Sri Lanka between 1987 and 1987 and 1990. And so at that time, the army intervened, and to prevent the 1988 coup d'etat attempt in the Maldives. After the 1965 war with Pakistan, India began to pursue close military and economic ties with the Soviet Union. By the late 1960s, the Soviet Union was its largest arms supplier. So the Soviet Union now, Russia, in World War, the Soviet Union is fighting Ukraine. Aside from its ongoing special relationship with Russia, India has wide-ranging defense relations with Israel and France. In recent years, it has played key roles in the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, the World Trade Organization. The nation has provided 100,000 military and police personnel to serve in 35 UN peacekeeping operations across 4 continents. It participates in the East Asia Summit, the G8+5, and other multilateral forums. India has close economic ties with countries in South America, Asia, and Africa. It pursues a look east policy that seeks to strengthen partnership with the Asian nations, Japan, and South Korea that revolve around many issues, but essentially those involving economic investment and regional security. The Indian Air Force contingent marching at the 221st Bastille Day military parade in Paris on the 14th July 2009. The parade at which India was the foreign guest was led by India's oldest regiment, the Maratha Light Infantry, founded in 1768. China's nuclear test of 1964, as well as its repeated threats to intervene in support of Pakistan in the 1965 war, convinced India to develop nuclear weapons. India conducted its first nuclear weapons test in 1974 and carried out additional underground testing in 1998. Despite criticism and military sanctions, India has signed neither the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty nor the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, considering both to be flawed and discriminatory. India maintains a no-first-use nuclear policy and is developing a nuclear triad capability as a part of its minimum credible deterrence doctrine. It is developing a ballistic missile defense shield and 15th generation fighter jet. Other indigenous military projects involve the design and implementation of Vikrant-class aircraft carriers and Arihant-class nuclear submarines. Since the end of the Cold War, India has increased its economic, strategic, and military cooperation with the United States and the European Union. In 2008, a civilian nuclear agreement was signed between India and the United States. Although India possessed nuclear weapons at the time and was not a party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, it received waivers from the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Nuclear Suppliers Group, ending earlier restrictions on India's nuclear technology and commerce. As a consequence, India became the 6th de facto nuclear weapons state. India subsequently signed cooperation agreements involving civilian nuclear energy with Russia, France, and United Kingdom and Canada. We're looking at the Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India talking with President Enrique Pena Nieto of Mexico during a visit to Mexico in 2016. These are some of the events, some of the situation in India as it pertains in history and also in contemporary times. President of India is the supreme commander of the nation's armed forces with 1.45 million active troops. They compose the world's second largest military. It comprises the Indian Army, largest the Indian Navy, the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Coast Guard. The official Indian defense budget for 2011 was US dollars 336.3 billion or 1.83% of GDP. Defense expenditure was paid at US dollars 7.5 billion for fiscal year 2022-2023 and increased 9.8% than previous fiscal year. India is the world's second largest arms importer. Between 2016 and 2020, it accounted for 9.5% of the total global arms imports. Much of the military expenditure was focused on defense against Pakistan and countering growing Chinese influence in the Indian Ocean. In May 2017, the Indian Space Research Organization launched the South Asia satellite, a gift from India to its neighboring SAARC countries. In October 2018, India signed a US dollar 5.23 billion over 400 billion rupees agreement with Russia to procure four S-4000 Triumph surface-to-air missile defense systems, Russia's most advanced long-range missile defense system. Look at the economy of India. Farming in areas such as the northwest Karnataka, with farmers actually using plows in the fields with a tractor, even if another in a field beyond those that's not the same with a pair of oxen. Got working with tractors and plows with oxen, and that's the nature of India. It is an equal society. The class system, if you look at the previous video on China, on India, you will see that India has one of the worst system of a class, which is actually typical of capitalism, which makes India a pivotal factor in creating an extreme form of capitalism. As we discussed, it is a form of violence. It's weaponizing wealth. Actually, weaponization of wealth simply means one thing: people will die, and warfare knows no boundary. Because you see, when people fight, they don't fight wild animals, they don't shoot at trees, they shoot at people with weapons. That's why I'm talking. This is a matter of life and death, and people should pay attention to it whether they like it or not, because your life matters. Black life matter, white life matter, mixed race life matter, and it is your duty to look after yourself. So let us call on and look at this material to try to illustrate what I've been saying all along. So you look at farming, some people are using tractors, others are using cattle to plow, like oxen, and doing agriculture, which is not a bad thing. 43% of India's total workforce was employed in agriculture. This was information in 2019. So India is also the world's largest producer of milk, with the largest population of cattle. That's impressive, interesting. In 2018, nearly 80% of India's milk was sourced from small farms with a herd size between 1 and 2. The milk harvested by the hand milking. They still use the basic equipment, which is the human hands, human fingers, to milk cows, which is a good thing, but also technology is actually upon India. If it wasn't for violence, people would now be accessing more generously across the globe. You know, with the advent of technology, the governments of the world have been investing immensely in technology. What we need now is to actually clean up our policies on wealth, on peace, and try to prevent the form of state violence as we have seen across the decades. And this is why I'm talking, because I believe people can change the way they think, from thinking like wild animals or wild dogs into thinking like humans. This does not discriminate between the rich or the poor. I mean, we are losing our cultural instincts. We are out of touch with humanity. This must change, and the change has to really occur very quickly. It is a survival strategy. It's a survival information. If not, we are going to go extinct as a species. And this is not a joke. This is a serious topic. So we got women in India also participating in agriculture. So the plant rice field, in places like Junagadh district in Gujarat, these are some of the places which are very vibrant agriculturally. A very beautiful landscape. 55% of India's female workforce was employed in agriculture in 2019. According to the International Monetary Fund (IMF), the Indian economy in 2020 was nominally worth 3.46 trillion. It was the fifth largest economy by market exchange rate and is around 11.6 trillion, the third largest by purchasing power parity (PPP), with its average annual GDP growth rate of 5.8% over the past 2 decades, reaching 6.1% during 2011 and 2012. India is one of the world's fastest growing economies. However, the country ranks 139th in the world in nominal GDP per capita and 118 in GDP per capita and PPP. Until 1991, all Indian governments followed protectionist policies that were influenced by socialist economics. Widespread state intervention and regulation largely walled the economy off from the outside world. An acute balance of payments crisis in 1991 forced the nation to liberalize its economy. Since then, it has moved increasingly toward a free market system. Emphasizing both foreign trade and direct investment inflow. In many ways, where there is violence, the free market economic system turned into a form of terrorism. And that has actually terrorized India into complying with violence, weaponizing the system of wealth to kill and to destroy humanity, including the content of society, including nature. It is so destructive that we need to revisit peace. We need to revisit people's dimension of society, which we don't even think about it. We talk about customer service in commerce, in doing retail, in doing business. But we do not know what we are talking about when we talk about customer service. We only think about money, which is a good thing. think about money as much as you like to think about wealth, think about power. But I say to you that the number one priority of a human being is actually a human being. If we think about people, but it sounds like child's play. What I'm talking about to many, sound like a joke. Some people may even think I'm having a bad dream, which I am not. I have seen the light, and you have to listen to me, because otherwise you're going to suffer the way I am suffering, the way the rich and the poor are suffering. Do not be deceived that the rich, if a rich person is watching this video, talk to me or keep quiet. But remember this, that you have no peace, and therefore you are actually in danger. Your life is in danger. You are destroying your life by being ignorant of the value of equality. If you're a multimillionaire and you're listening to this video and you do not understand the concept of cultural economy, you do not understand the concept of valuing humanity, then you are a dead dog. You are worthless. Your money is nothing. Because you see, if you die, you're going to go be buried and go extinct. But if you wake up now and start contributing positively to society, you begin to look after yourself as a multimillionaire. You look after yourself and take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, learning the value of humanity. Then, with the help of technology and the help of wealth, with the help of capitalism, we begin to build peace. Peace is the future of our immortality, if you like. Because knowledge, I believe, if we apply knowledge peacefully, we are going to be immortal. Scientists are now working day and night to achieve some semblance of longevity. You know, trying to handle the issue of aging. These are facts. You can check everywhere. Researchers are now have discovered that, you know, humanity should not grow old. Life should not grow old. Life grow old because the body is malfunctioning. That is a critical information for our future as a species, for our future relating with other species like animals, trees, what people sometimes refer to as nature. So there is hope. There is no point me talking the way I talk if there is no hope. And hope is to give us some sense of optimism now, and provide some capacity for us to readjust and learn our culture and begin to be more educated about humanity, valuing your life, especially if you are multimillionaire and multimillionaire, because you see, the world is enough. And with science and technology, even if you die, future generations are going to bring your life back. Bring you back from the dead to life. This is not science fiction. It is science expectation. We expect that to happen because the signs are there, the scientific signs, and at the level of facts are now indicating that these are possible. Do your research, I will do mine. But keep an eye on this channel and let us talk the future, which is quite exciting. We, the people of the world today, should be optimistic. We should be positive. We should be actually resting more and relaxing more. Now we work day and night. Even if you are rich people sometimes don't even rest. No wonder we sometimes say there's no rich peace for the wicked. If you are multi-billionaire and you are maybe trillionaire even, you still have to work, but you know, you put some smile on your face. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to the people around you. Don't be miserable. Don't be nasty. There is hope for humanity. We are people. We don't fail. We don't just walk away. We never did. Nor shall we. So the reason I was thinking because I'm optimistic. But we need to really identify the problem, and we have to be truthful and honest about this. And we should not wait for the whole world. We are closing by population of nearly 8 billion people. We can wait for them, or we can just start now to start talking sense into our lives. Education, education, education. About people, people, people. You see, people is power, people is hope. And that is why you see, the purpose of our life is humanity. Do not think there are some aliens, friendly or otherwise, coming to make us happy. They may be friendly, and they are aliens. We are humans. This is our world. The earth is our world, so we have to look after it. We have to look after the people as a priority. We need to start learning peace, accessing science, technology, working together, rich and poor. The rich can have their wealth. The poor can get out of poverty and be happy. And the rich can be happy working as a human family to produce a happy, successful future. We have the science. We have the technology. We can do this. There are people now working day and night to find ways of producing immortality. Why not? It's a form of medicine. Slowing down aging, or even stopping aging, reversing aging. If that happens, we can live for 200, 500, 1,000 years. What is not to like? And so, why should we behave like people who do not understand anything? We can't do that. So we have to go back to India now and look at this material and think about it. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Subscribe to this channel and support it. We need to grow and reach more people. We need good traffic. We need better visibility. So subscription is going to help. Just promote this video with your family and friends. Share the video. Encourage them to subscribe and watch this video. Leave a comment below. Let us see how to improve the content, which we will inevitably improve. We have been operating for 11 months now, so it takes time, because it takes a lot of resources. Video, produce a video is very. You need to be a multimillionaire to enjoy the process in terms of resources. But we will get there and doing very valuable things. So join us. Look at India. The 555 million worker Indian labor force is the world's second largest as of 2017. The first is probably India. I don't know. China perhaps, because China and India are measured in billions in terms of population. So it won't surprise you if their labor forces are the largest first and second in the world. This was a figure in 2017. So the service sector makes up 55.6%, which is quite good, of GDP. The industrial sector 26.3%, and the agricultural sector 18.1%. India's foreign exchange remittances of US dollar 100 billion in 2011. Highest in the world were contributed to its economy by 32 million Indians working in foreign countries. This is also a good report for India. So perhaps the best report about India is their capacity and the culture of diligence, of hard work. And they work so hard, and they are the best, including China. And I would say humanity have worked so hard. We humans are hard worker. We just need to learn peace. That's what I'm trying to talk about. So let us look at major agricultural products, including rice, wheat, oilseed, cotton, jute, tea, sugarcane, and potatoes. Major industries include textile, telecommunication, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, by technology, food processing, steel, transport equipment, cement, mining, petroleum machinery, and software. In 2006, the share of external trade in India's GDP stood at 24%, up from 6% in 1985. In 2008, India's share of world trade was 1.68%. In 2021, India was the world's 9th largest importer and 16th largest exporter. Major exports include petroleum products, textile goods, jewelry, software, engineering goods, chemicals, and manufactured leather goods. Major imports include crude oil, machinery, gem, fertilizers, and chemicals. Between 2001 and 2011, the contribution of petrochemical and engineering goods to total export grew from 14% to 42%. India was the world's second largest textile exporter after China in the 2013 calendar year, averaging an economic growth rate of 7.5% for several years. Prior to 2007, India has more than doubled its hourly wage rates during the first decade of the 21st century. Some 431 million Indians have left poverty since 1985. India's middle classes are projected to number around 580 million by 2030. This is a good approach, but I'm afraid it is actually slipping out of their fingers because capitalism is being extremitized by poor thinking politically, also adverse form of ideological rhetoric, which is producing really shocking situations in societies, and this has to be really reversed and corrected. The sooner the better. Though ranking 66 and 68 in global competitiveness as of 2010, India ranks 17th in financial market sophistication, 24th in the banking sector, 44th in business sophistication, and 39th in innovation, ahead of several advanced economies. Good report for India in terms of development. So with 7 of the world's top 15 information technology outsourcing companies based in India as of 2009, the country is viewed as the second most favorable outsourcing destination after the United States. India is ranked 40th in the Global Innovation Index in 2023. If I am correct, Land Rover of the United Kingdom of England has been sold to India. India now owns Land Rover, which is actually the equivalent of a national emblem for Britain. And also I think was it Jaguar supposed to be sold to China. I need to double check. India's consumer market, the world's 11th largest, is expected to become 5th largest by 2030. Good report for India in terms of growth and development. Driven by growth, India's nominal GDP per capita increased steadily from US $308 in 1991 when economic liberalization began to US $1,380 in 2010 to an estimated US $1,730 in 2016. It is expected to grow to US $2,466 by 2022. However, it has remained lower than those of other Asian developing countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, and is expected to remain so in the near future. So the performance of India is extraordinary economically. It's impressive. My only contention with a country like India is its incapacity to perceive and also comprehend the value of humanity, and also the failing to understand what I call the cultural economy. And so to speak, India, like the rest of the globe, should stop and think and turn from being like wild animals and becoming human again by learning the value of humanity as a priority. I'm not trying to suggest the value of other aspects of life is not really important. What I'm only saying is simple, quite simple indeed. Value humanity first, and that is a must. You see, there are things in life you don't choose. You just have to do it, and you have to stop now. Especially if you have power in terms of wealth, politics, and influence, whichever the case. Stop now. Stop what you're doing now and turn around and go to school. Doesn't matter where you go to school, we have technologies in your home. Go to the internet, watch my video, learn about the value of humanity. It's a priority. Practice makes perfect. You become what you think. If you think human value is a priority, you become what you think. You become a better person. You begin to develop good character and be good behavior, which means actually you're going to be a more peaceful person. And learning violence, which has actually been a generational problem. You inherit it from your parents. Your parents have inherited violence from their parents. This must stop, because this is a crisis. We face extinction as a human species. This is the truth. And you must listen to this video and listen to something similar to this being said, because it is your lifeline. If you are suffering from malaria in Africa, you have to take malarial medication. If you have COVID-19, you have to get vaccination. You have to get a COVID vaccine. The humanitarian vaccine is actually the learning of the value of humanity as a priority number one. It's easy, but it's not easy because we need to change the way we think, and this is going to take time. It's not today or tomorrow. So look at India, full of panorama, cities like Bangalore, sitting in the center of India's software development economy. In the 1980s, when the first multinational corporation began to set up centers in India, they chose Bangalore because of the large pool of skilled graduates in the area, in turn due to the many science and engineering colleges in the surrounding regions. This is investment in education with India, I suppose, leading by example, which is a good thing. It's a good sign of development. We need development as human species. According to a 2011 Price Waterhouse Coopers PwC report, India's GDP and purchasing power parity could overtake that of the United States by 2045. During the next 4 decades, Indian GDP is expected to grow at an annualized average of 8%, making it potentially the world's fastest growing major economy until 2050. The report highlights key growth factors: a young and rapidly growing working age population, growth in the manufacturing sector because of rising education and engineering skill level, and sustained growth of the consumer market driven by a rapidly growing middle class. The World Bank cautioned that for India to achieve its economic potential, it must continue to focus on public sector reform, transform infrastructure, agricultural and rural development, removal of labor regulations, education, energy security, and public health and nutrition. I am really reluctant to listen to the World Bank. Its advice is perverse as often because it actually teaches the world how to be extreme capitalist. That is no good. That is actually anti-peace, and the antidote is a starting point to produce some semblance of stability is to strengthen the public sector, which is actually there to produce a wealth and to produce goods and services to get poor people out of poverty. That's the only way to do it. Privatization of the public sector is gross, and that is actually the mantra of the World Bank. And I think the World Bank is a very evil empire, and it should be shut down unless it turns around and starts listening to people who understand peace. Violence is not really something we should be encouraged, because it is going to destroy us. And India should not listen to the World Bank unless it is borrowing money from the World Bank, which it is. That is actually the wrath of society. You borrow money from an evil system. That should stop. The system should change. You should shut down the World Bank and the IMF. And sovereign states like India, global continent, global countries, continents of the world can be independent of this evil system of banking, which actually only think of money. Who said in their right minds that the bank knows anything about humanity? Because this is the problem of the world. Is not money anymore. We have so much wealth, and we just lost touch of humanity, because the World Bank is to serve humanity. It's not the humanity to serve the World Bank, which is what is not happening, and it is creating a lot of problems in Africa and in countries like India, creating a lot of poverty among the majority by extremitizing the incident of capitalism, which should stop immediately. And capitalism, the marketization, in to be more specific, the marketized free market system should be preserved for the super rich, who are actually the few. And the many should be managed. There should be two types of economy in one country. One is public, one is private. Private is for the rich, and public for the super poor and for the poor. And the aim of public sector should be to remove poor people from poverty, the lower and the middle class of society who work for living. And this is the fundamentals of my discussion with the rest of my viewers. And this has to be done sooner rather than later. The excessive, the reckless privatizing the public sector, impacting on the cost of living now, turning the cost of living into a crisis, which is a very dangerous poison. It's killing people. People are actually committing suicide, rightly so, because they are so shocked that they didn't know the government could be so violent and so rude that I saw it to destroy the public sector. The public sector has to be rebuilt. That's the only way to maintain peace. Otherwise, there will be no peace for the wicked, rich or poor. That is the message, and the policymakers should wake up from their dreams. Doesn't matter what medicine they take, they should be sober and learn logic and peace. That's the bottom line. So India should stop listening to the World Bank. But if you're taking their money, then you're in trouble. A country like India and China should talk to other Asian and European and American continental peoples and government to get out of the credit system. The credit system, economic system, should be shut down today. Actually, it should have been shut down yesterday. In 2007 and 2008, it nearly brought the global economy down. It created the global economic meltdown of 2007, 2008. And it's like the blind leading the blind. The leaders of the world are so drunk with confusion, and they should stop and go back to their senses. You need to use wealth to promote peace. You don't use wealth to produce violence. Promoting an ancient and outdated system of slavery, which is the problem. So we think we are still living in the dark ages, and yet we are living in the 21st century world of technology, and yet we cannot really change a system which is so rotten, which has actually persecuted humanity over the decades. System of slave master relation. Stop now. The rest of the population are not afraid of being poor. They just don't want to be in poverty when there is wealth. That is violent, it's rude. And that is the whole idea. Let us go back to looking at India. According to the Worldwide Cost of Living Report 2017, released by the Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, which was created by comparing more than 400 individual prices across 160 products and services. 4 of the cheapest cities were in India: Bangalore, 3rd, Mumbai, 5th, and Chennai, 5th, and New Delhi, 8th. If it can happen in India, it can happen in America, it can happen in China, it can happen in Europe. People can get out of poverty. Poverty can be mitigated and eradicated. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not talking about wealth. I'm talking about poverty, which is a form of violence. The rich can get as rich as they like, but get the poor out of poverty today. Otherwise, there will be no peace. You allow poor people to die and be destroyed, you will also die and be destroyed, because when you kill poor people, you're going to kill yourself, and humanity is going to go extinct. And this is what I say is not going to happen, because I speak, people like me are there speaking. So do not deceive yourself that you are ignorant of peace and peaceful discourses. And that thinking maybe you're going to get your way, you won't get your way unless you learn the way of peace. Everybody is supposed to participate in the peace process, because our life is our future. Let's look at industry briefly. Industry in India, tea gardens in Sikkim. India, the world's second largest producer of tea, is a nation of 1 billion tea drinkers who consume 70% of India's tea output. Brilliant. So let the Indians and the world drink tea and remember the precepts of peace and prosperity. So India's telecommunication industry is the second largest in the world with over 1.2 billion subscribers. It contributes to 6.5% to India's GDP. After the third quarter of 2017, India surpassed the US to become the second largest smartphone market in the world after China. The Indian automotive industry, the world's second fastest growing, increased domestic sales by 26% during the 2009-2010 and exports by 36% during 2008 and 2009. In 2022, India became the world's third largest vehicle market after China and the United States, surpassing Japan. At the end of 2011, the Indian IT industry employed 2.8 million professionals, generated revenues close to US 100 billion US dollar, equaling 7.5% of Indian GDP, and contributed 26% of India's merchandise export. The pharmaceutical industry in India emerged as a global player. As of 2021, with 3,000 pharmaceutical companies and 10,500 manufacturing units in India, India is the world's third largest pharmaceutical producer, largest producer of genetic medicines, and supply up to 50 to 60% of the global vaccine demand. These all contribute up to US dollar 24.44 billion export, and India's local pharmaceutical market is estimated up to US dollar 42 billion for the 42 billion. India is among the top 12 biotech destinations in the world. The Indian biotech industry grew by 15.1% in 2012 to between 2012 and 2013, increasing its revenues from 204.4 billion Indian rupees to 235.4 billion Indian rupee, so to speak, 3.94 billion US dollar at June 2013 exchange rates. The next time we meet on this platform, we're going to look at the energy of India. Thank you for joining me watching this, and thank you for subscribing. For those who are subscribed, if you watch this far, you are a champion of this channel. Subscribe to this channel, support it, leave a comment below, and share with family and friends. Click the notification bell, click like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you, bye bye.